we're trying to get Alan Arkin before our show ends. So that'll tell you. Just giving you a case study of how this happened. This is John Findlater. He played Peter Coakley in the 1970 movie Airport. And he's one of the few few survivors of Airport. He's actually still around. Most of the cast, except for Jacqueline Bisset and John Findlater, are dead. Tried to find him. Hard to find. He's no longer acting business. My co-host Mark Cerulli did further searches and found a page of his Beverly Hills High School reunion Facebook page, where he is with his former prom date, who is also the reunion chairwoman for the Beverly Hills High School. And Mark contacted her, who contacted John Findlater for us, and we wound up with John Findlater.
That's insane.
It is.
That's awesome. Wow.
So at the same time,
that's like PI work.
Yeah. So Mark was a good hound dog in that.
So if I need to find anyone, I just talk to you guys. I'll be like, it's for a podcast. And you'll find them.
Yeah, somehow.
Jim has a list of social security numbers for sale.
Yeah. We got to talk about Chico. We got to talk about buying celebrities. There are celebrities, and some celebrities will actually give you a price on how much they want. Mostly some of it's done because they want money, because they want to get rich, and some people use it to avoid having people show up and ask them on their show. There's some people have asked as much as $2,000, Troy Johnson, but we will. We don't pay. You don't have to pay, but there is a way that you can provide a benefit to the users, kind of by buying them off. And did we lose them? There we go. The way to buy them off is send them a headset for $19.95. And actually, if you buy them in bulk in some places, you can get it for as low as $14.95. You can buy gamer headsets. Found a bunch of Sennheiser headsets that were on sale in bulk, and we used to ship them out for Airport. And if you offer celebrities, huge celebrities, will go on your show. Robert Hayes from Airplane, came on our show for the price of a headset. So if the guest is worth $20 to you, go to Amazon, get their mailing address or shipping address, and ship them a headset and tell them we want it for the audio, but you can, it's yours to keep. And it's amazing how that little bit of bait will get you a great celebrity. So this is I'm not making this up, really. This is how it happens. Okay, it works.
It's happened.
Yeah. And after you've had them on the show, follow up and ask, tell them when their episode is on your show. Tell them that they're coming on, and give them feedback. Actors are very insecure, if you didn't know. Actors love feedback. Actors love applause. You tell them your show is our #1 hit. Your show, we've gotten so many responses from people listening to your show. Could you come back on again? You can have them on again. They have the headset, they can you can do it. And the other thing is, by the way, do you know whatever happened to, and then name a co-star on the show, and you might be able to use that friend of a friend thing to get more famous friends.
You are so sneaky.
You're like the Jedi.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It works. It works. It really does work. I think I don't know if there's one left. If you get turned down, no, Johnson. If you get turned down, you can say to yourself, maybe they weren't that interesting a person to have on. But there are many other things. Like I showed you before, the gynecologist and the. Sounds like I started a joke. A gynecologist and a daughter of an actor and an airport director. Find other people, because there are a lot of people, and it's amazing. Even though it sounds like you're going away from the subject, your movie, going away and getting some related topic to your movie, it will fascinate your listeners. So try that out. I think that's the last one. We're back to Siskel and Ebert. But if it doesn't work, you can always use the Siskel and Ebert. It worked for them, and it'll work for you.
I actually signed up for this panel,
and I have no idea why. You guys just covered everything and crushed it.
Well, I think the headset is a perfect example of this, and the kind of cutting the minutes and sending the links and all that is making it as easy as possible for somebody to be a guest. That's the thing. So give them, make no barriers, no obstacles. They can just kind of click on the things, be like, all right, we're talking about this. I have a headset. I'm good to go.
And tchotchkes too. If you have any T-shirts, mugs,
Right.
anything, they love that stuff. You just send people that. My co-host Mark Cerulli used to work for HBO, and he had Mama Soprano's ziti, and he had cases of this from when he was working at HBO, and he used to send people that for different things, and they were like, "I love the Sopranos," and so for a box of old ziti.
It's not in because a box of ziti is like $1,000 in parlance. But
Yeah.
you're not talking about sending them a box of ziti. You're talking about sending them an actual box of ziti.
And speaking of headsets, you guested on ours with a headset on because you can't hold still, right? So you with a headset, so you can walk around while you're doing stuff.
Yeah, and I have like tendonitis here because I frequently have to carry the computer around too with the headset. But
So you don't have to hold still, and if you're more comfortable walking around, a headset works out. That's why you're here.
I have
For that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I have a friend of a friend who works for Sennheiser, and I got a sports broadcasting headset. Like I said, give me the most pimp, I don't care, make it gold, whatever. And I it was, $250 or something. But Pete Mummert has thanked me profusely for getting the professional grade headset. So yeah, because I don't like speaking into a mic at all. Like I don't know how anybody sits, especially when you talk about doing 3 or 4 or 5 episodes at a time. You're just sitting there like this, talking into a microphone. I don't know how you guys do it. But that was bad for the back.
Don't lean over so far.
Boom stand. Yeah.
I stand sometimes. I have a mic that I can hold and stand in.
What I notice in terms of getting guests, I think you try and think outside the podcast. You think, well, first of all, who would somebody want to hear? I mean, just some of them are no-brainers. Like if you're doing Indiana Jones, you're like, well, we need archaeologists. Or Pete Mummert had got an Egyptologist on the show, and you're like, well, of course. Like, what is all this? What are the hieroglyphs on the wall, and are they accurate? And you're like, maybe that's Anubis that India is kicking over. Let's get to the bottom of this. Just some of it's regular questions that you want to know and you think about when you're at a red light. And so some of it's that, and I think when you get those people on, you want to alley-oop them. Give them a couple of no-brainer questions that we've all wanted to know for 20 or 30 years. But then I'd say also, it's stuff that's easy for them to respond to get them comfortable. Because a lot of guests are not comfortable, even if they are experts or knowledgeable in the field. They're not used to the podcast and certainly watching a minute of a movie, once they don't really know it. So it's a way to get them warmed up and loosened up, I think. And then I'd say throw 1 or 2 kind of off-the-wall questions at them, too, and just be like, it's a little free-for-all. It's like, here, now go finger paint. Go nuts. And see where they go.
Yeah, off of that, I realized I didn't put anything in about, at the top of the show, when you happen to have a new guest, I always try to talk for a little bit with the hosts, because going into a cold thing with someone you've never met and never seen is really difficult. So I love when a host will engage me in conversation outside of what we're about to do, so I can calm down, because you can even hear, and especially in my first Star Wars Minute, from episode day 1, because I was like, these people hate me, because I missed the first recording with them.
Oh, right.
And I was like, they hate me, I shouldn't be doing this. From day 1 to day 5, I get much more animated and excited, because I was like, I can't tell if they're going to kill me or not. But if you get the excitement up at the top and excited to talk about something, it opens up to talking and stuff.
Well, we've had that, because, like I said, we do a lot of recording in person, too. And so we've had 1 or 2 guests that we had, we do a decent amount of kind of chit-chat with beforehand, just so they're, one of them's like, oh, I'm so glad you guys aren't murderers, because I got this email communication that just said, show up at the Holiday Inn, and they walk into a room, who knows what they're expecting, so we're like, hey, how's it going, and what do you, so we'll go into, talk about, most of our guests are kind of, networked, it's a friend of a friend, or somebody knew this person or recommended this, or we found them on Twitter. So then, talk about, oh, hey, how's it going, and what their thing is, and make them feel comfortable first and foremost, because then they'll or keep them on their toes, keep them uncomfortable, and then they'll chatter more, and then you get some good stuff.
Yeah, you were talking about actors being insecure, and I was amazed that we asked these comedians to come meet us at a seedy hotel. Just come in the middle of the day. We'll just be two middle-aged guys there waiting for you. Don't tell anyone where you're going. It's not secret. Come they do.
Yeah, and then they're it's once you have them there, making them once they've agreed to it, that's kind of part one. But then the care, like we said, care and feeding, and then keeping them kind of not only on the hook, not only kind of an active part of the episodes that you have them on for, but then potentially kind of coming back and kind of being part of the whole thing is important, because you want them to feel comfortable the whole time, and then kind of being, having some of your notes be questions is always important, especially for when you have guests on, so that you're throwing it out there, so it's not just, in our case, it's not just me saying like look at that robot, that's this robot from Wikipedia, and you say, yes, and he's played by this person. Throwing it out there to be, oh, so what do you think that robot smells like? Then you get that opportunity for some, for the guest to jump in and kind of throw their expertise in there, if they're an expert on robot smells.
I do that when I notice John's watching cat videos while we're recording the Fifth Element. I'm just kidding.
I notice that in terms of how you're deciding to get a guest, I mean, first of all, you want to think, well, why am I having this guest? What's the reason? Why is there a specific? Maybe they're just funny, or you know them, or they're part of this community. But I think there's a sweet spot that you can find. One of the difficulties in doing this minute by minute, or one of the problems I think sometimes a trap, is that you can stay wedded to exactly what's happening in the minute, which everybody's seen the movie, and you don't just want to regurgitate the minute. So you want to bring a guest in that's going to have something to do with the minute, but also take it somewhere else. And an example was for the Temple of Doom with the roller coaster, what we call mind trolley. Thank you, the mind trolley scene. I actually contacted an amusement park, and I asked, is there somebody that we could get who could come, and they help engineer roller coasters, and how realistic would this roller coaster be, and could you have a roller coaster that would be over lava, or is that just ridiculous? And it's part of the minute, but has potential to go somewhere completely different. Now, of course, they shut me down, and I said, well, they wouldn't have been a good guest anyway. Like Jim O'Kane suggested on the turn downs, but
Always sour grape at a beginning.
Yeah, so we've gotten a couple of kind of requests, or people coming up to us or sending us email saying like, hey, I should be on your show because I know everything about Star Wars, and that's not necessarily going to make the best guest by any means. If you that's why we tend, partially because it's the kind of network path that we've chosen to follow with our guests, but we tend to kind of pick up more comedians and people who are going to, like you said, add something to it and just bring, even if it's not specifically germane to the minute, if it's not factual, they're going to go off on tangents, and they're people that we know can at least bring entertainment to the minute, and not just kind of like reading Wikipedia pages that they've memorized.
Yeah, we would much rather have someone who was entertaining and knew nothing about Star Wars than someone who had memorized the entire Wikipedia but was, reads like they read the entire Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing we've also been, I think it's a continual challenge, is we find a lot of our guests, as I think you pointed out, are 30 to 50-year-old white guys.
Yeah.
And we were purposely saying, okay, we're going to try to make an effort to try to get, so whenever we had someone on, we'd be like, hey, do you know anyone who'd be good, particularly if they're not a 30 to 50-year-old white guy. So.
Right. It's just, that occurred to me just listening to my own show. and you go, it's a lot of, it's a lot of similar voices, and in a way, similar experiences, which makes sense, but it's great to vary it up.
Yeah, I mean, even for actual audio listening purposes, having other voices in there really
Absolutely.
makes all the difference. You know, so when you